Have you been looking for a way to add this amazing AI functionality of text to video to your app? Well, stay tuned. In this video, we're going to learn how to do it with a tool called Pika. If you're not familiar with Pika and its capabilities, what it allows someone to do is basically give a prompt, whether that's straight up text, whether it's an image, and then the prompt is about what to do with the image, or a video as a seed, and then telling the system what to do with it with a tool. It's a lot like Midjourney in that it's interacted with over in Discord, but in this case, we're going to be utilizing an API that is linked to in the description of this video, where you can check it out and see if it's something that you would want to play around with. Before diving into all of this, I do want to make a note about this world of AI tools, that how rapidly and everything is moving. And I'm sure that many folks have already seen this other one from OpenAI called Sora. If you haven't, here it is. Makes some pretty long and what appears to be epic videos, although these are cherry picked for the best ones, of course. But one of the things that is about this particular tool, and why I think this video will be so great today, is that here, as you know, when this video is being recorded in late February, there is no waitlist. It is not available publicly, and basically, you know, it's kind of an unknown. This could come in 6 months from now. This could come in 6 weeks from now. But the amazing thing about what we're going to learn to do today is that with a tool like Pika, we're going to integrate it into our Bubble app by making an API call with the prompt, setting things up, and then pulling and then getting information, or getting the created video back. And what's awesome about this is that this is available today. So you don't have to wait on it. And it's a huge competitive advantage if you have an idea that you would want to use this for. So for example, we can see out here a lot of, just some things I've noticed on here, a lot of 9:16 oriented videos, which, you know, people are obviously making for social media type of stuff. So clearly a tool like this, if you were creating an MVP, you can build it, you can build a framework, you can build kind of the skeletal structure of it with this tool, and then whoever wins the race of, and it could be this tool as well, it could be others, because Midjourney is, right now, at least in my opinion, winning the race for amazing image generations. Check out the tutorial on this channel if you're interested in that setup. But we don't know who's really going to win this one. However, you can just swap in, swap out if you already have the framework of an app built. So let's dive into what it is for this API. This API is an unofficial API. It is a small investment of $40 for getting access. I believe that is $40 a month. I don't think it says here, but I believe that's the way it works. Again, you can check it out from the link in the description. And enough preamble then, let's take a look at what it is we're going to be building in this video. And we're going to be building something simple where we have a video shown here that is going to be returned from Pika. We're going to type in a prompt. We're going to generate that stuff. It's going to go out. It's going to come back in a webhook, and it's going to, assign this video to something, and then we'll dynamically insert that into here. So heading over to our Bubble editor, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and delete that out, and we are going to add quickly a data type. So let's just say, we'll just say Pika, there'll be a Pika generation. And for now, all we want to do is just have it, have a video URL that is just simply text. And that's fine because it'll just be displaying it off the server, off a Pika server rather. Now there's different things that are beyond the scope of this video. This video, the intention is to just get you set up where you can kind of play with the API and see what it's capable of. And then there will be additional resources linked to in the video description below that extend beyond this. So let's go ahead and see what we need to do to get this set up. So once you have an account over at this API provider, you will be given an API key. And that API key can be found once you're just in your dashboard on your account, and it's underneath your authorization token, and that's it. So you want to take that, and now go ahead and click on the documentation where you can navigate to this Postman collection, which is basically a number of API calls that are already pre-set up that we can just take a look at and then copy over into our Bubble app. So from here, I'm going to go with the web and the post generate. and this is going to give me the body, which I'm going to go ahead and copy. Well, actually, I'm going to start with this. So this is the API endpoint. And then under the API connector plugin, which you'll want to install in the add plugins button if you have not already, and then go ahead and click add another API. This will give you a place where you can name it Pika. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 2 shared headers. One will be for authorization, and the other one will be for content/type. And this one will be application JSON. And then this one will be bearer space, and then copy and paste in your token. Next up, we'll add a call, and I'll say this is the generate call. So now this is where we can use what we have from this Postman API setup. So from this, we're going to have a post request. We'll set that as an action, and then we'll grab the JSON out of here and plop it into here. Now, one thing I want to note is that so this prompt text and this options corresponds in the documentation to, so we head over here to generate. So this is, we're using the web API endpoint. So this prompt text and options, that is in there. So this is stuff that is options for the video. And we can see, right out of the gate, it's things that would make sense. Aspect ratio, frame rate. We'll just stick with all of these as the default from out of the box of this, except we're also going to add in 2 things. We're going to add in, let's see what it's called here. We're going to add in a webhook override because you'll note that over here on this screen, there is a place to put in a webhook URL. If you want everything that you ever request to go to that same URL, you can put that webhook URL from your Bubble app here. But in my case, I would like to just add that into my API call. So I'll just say webhook. And then I'm also going to add this thing called a ref, which this is just something that gets sent to the API and then given back to us so that we can correspond that it's like the piece of data in Bubble where like we create the thing for basically the data type, and then it has a field and it's waiting for that to come in. So that data type that we already created. Okay, so for this webhook and this item ID, I'm going to go ahead and uncheck those. And then in my database, navigating over here, I'm going to, under my Pika generations, I don't have any. So I'm just going to go ahead and create a new one. And I don't need to add anything to it. But basically, once it's created, I'll take its unique ID, and then I will add that to this item ID. And then anytime it's dynamically generated, when the button is hit, a new one of these will be created, and this thing will be sent out with it. And then when something is sent back to our webhook in Bubble, which I'll just say that you'll need a paid plan to make this happen. Or the other thing you can do is we'll see when we initialize this call that we actually there's a way to do this on a free plan as well. If you're just looking to play around with things, you happen to come to this video and maybe you've never even seen Bubble and you're like, who is this dude, and what is he talking about for the capabilities of what is possible? Well, what is possible is in the world of no code, you could potentially build a user interface where people could generate a bunch of different videos, and then you could connect to that through this API, and you could connect all of the videos that they create, allow them to drag and drop and reorder them, and basically some kind of video editing thing, have them click stitch, and that can go to a different API, stitch them all together. The possibilities are endless, and in fact, resources about that, check the description below. Okay, so let's move on to grabbing a webhook for this. And so I've navigated into the backend area of my workflows. And what I'm just simply going to do is I'm going to say create a new API workflow, and I'll call this the Pika receiver. So for this Pika receiver, I'm going to say detect data, and I'll just go ahead and grab this to initialize things. So from the initialization, what we're going to do is I'm going to allow this to go over. It'll take this webhook. It'll come back for this. And I actually don't need this for now. I'm not going to do anything with it, so it's just fine to leave it. I'll go ahead and I'll initialize this call. Okay, and so I can see here I forgot a space. Cool. Always happy to have errors like that show up because you might have some kind of error as well. But all right, so we have this job ID. I'm going to go ahead and save that. It's going to be out. It's going to be running and doing its thing. If I come to add another call, this is an extra bonus just for all you folks out there, where I'm going to say this will be the get job. And what we're going to do is paste that job there. But then over here on the get job, I'm going to go ahead and, so this is a get request, and just pop that in there, which I lost that thing, so I'll just go back and get it here. Okay, these are the same. And then taking this job ID, I'll just go ahead and initialize this goal. Okay, cool. So we can see that it is blah, 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 blah. And it has this webhook URL. The progress is 19. And I'll go ahead and hit save on that. So you can see you could set up something like this. You could use some custom workflows. In fact, in the Midjourney tutorial that's on this channel, there is a custom workflow that bounces between two custom events that are just regular workflows that run on the front end until a job is done, and it bounces back and forth between every 5 seconds. So it's kind of like an impromptu, or poor man's backend workflow, basically. Okay, so but let's go ahead and check if our endpoint has got hit yet, and it hasn't. But we could see that if we reinitialize this call, that we are now at 68%. And okay, so this is now over in our, this is that thing that was sitting and waiting and waiting and waiting, and then it came through. So we'll go ahead and look at this result URL, the image thumb. If we wanted to do something with that, we'd set it up as an image. But we'll probably just, only really work with this video's result URL. Is this the one? This is the one we're interested in. Okay, so now that that's set up, actually what we want to do is we'll want to go back here and then initialize this again. And in this time, we'll take off this, or not initialize, but now that we're done initializing it, we actually have something. So this, if you recall, is an item that's created on our database, and it doesn't have a video URL. So we want to get a video URL there. So let's go ahead and set this up. So one of the things that is coming back with this, if we check out, let's look for this ref. So here this ref is 5 to 1,000, which matches in our database this 5 to 1,000. Okay, so what we want to do with that then is we want to make changes to a thing when it comes back. And that thing is we're going to do search for Pika generation. And we only want the first item of that. And we want it where the unique ID of this is equal to the request data's job ref. So that's the thing we said we passed into the call, and then it came back to us. So we know which one we're working with. So we're going to see that this will get the thing that we want to change is the video URL, and we want that to be the request data videos. And then it says video first items result URL. So it's tucked away a little bit in there, and that, well, now you know where it is to use this. So it's request data's videos first items URL for anyone interested in a bit of extra knowledge, that because we can see here that there's a level of hierarchy. So you look for the videos, and then it's a list of things. So we wanted to just take the first item, and then we take its result URL. Okay, so that's how that data structure works. So now let's go ahead and wire up our UI so that we can take this prompt and run it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to use our Pika generate, and oh yeah, let's also set this up so it's our dynamic prompt. So we'll say cinematic drone flight over ocean. And then we'll reinitialize this. And then now over in our workflows area, we can see that we have this. So our item ID, the thing that we want to do is we'll actually create a new thing. And the thing that we'll create is this Pika generation. Then we'll take that Pika generations unique ID and we'll store that there. From a webhook URL, that we actually don't even need to make here, but we'll just leave it as it is. Okay, so the prompt, we'll want to just go and put this as the input value. Oh, and one thing that we'll also do is we'll just say for the inputs, we'll just reset inputs. Okay. And then one last thing that we'll want to do, and then we'll go and run this, is also on the backend area, just make sure that this workflow can be run without authentication is checked. That'll allow things to all run smoothly. And without further ado, let's go and make some stuff happen, shall we? So we've got that workflow set up. It's going to run. It's going to go get the, so let's just say a cinematic drone flying over a desert. And so we'll say generate, which we didn't get that in time, but it's running this workflow, the create new, the generate with the sending this item ID, this prompt value. It reset the input, which we saw here. And it's off doing its thing. Now, if we had a way to, I guess we could have captured that. We could have stored this ID in somewhere, and then we could have grabbed it. The ID that came out of, for anyone that's really dialed in and following along, that this Pika generate actually has something that is the result of step 2. So the result of step 2, this job ID, if we had saved that in a state, we could access it right now as we are waiting, and we could check on our Git job. But actually what I'm going to do is just show off here in this data. We're going to wait, and that basically the webhook is going to run. It's going to receive that data in. It's going to take the request data as videos, result URL, put it in there, and we'll see that in just a moment. And with just hitting a few refresh buttons here, okay, cool. So it did make it through, and we can see this Pika art file. And let's see, we might need to, over here. Okay, so there's one thing left to do, is just to do a search for the Pika generation. In this case, we'll just go with the last item, and we'll take its video URL, because in this case, it's just the one so far. And then we'll see. So there it is, our drone flying over. Oh, that's kind of interesting. Well, it's actually the drone made it into the shot. But there's a bunch of different things. That's a more side of a prompt engineering thing. So here you can see that is the case. I will close out this video by introducing what was stated in the beginning of this video, is that in addition to text to video, you can also say a image to video or a video to video. Now, to do those, all you simply do is you send a URL that is a valid MP4 file, or a URL that is a valid PNG, JPEG, WebP, or GIF file, and then you send that along. And it still is required that you have a prompt text. So you give it an image and you kind of tell it what to do with the image, or you give it a video and you say a video like this. Again, that's more of the prompt engineering type of things. So all you would do in that case is you would just simply add in a line here, set up just like this, adding this additional parameter in, and initialize. Great. Okay, so that would get sent off, and then now we can see here in this one that we would also have a spot for an image URL to be entered in dynamically with the prompt, and then that would be, what's the next step to do to play around with this API, to dive into further into the documentation, whether in the resources that are in below that can help you out and give you a leg up from where you are, or just diving in on your own. Hope you found this video helpful as a primer to get you started with kind of the basics of, the steps, and just sometimes seeing somebody else do it makes it super easy to, see a clear path forward. So if you found that helpful, please give the video a like, subscribe to the channel for more great tips about Bubble, and thank you for watching.